Oh,
You're good.
good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe Council meeting. It's Monday, February the 5th, 2024 at 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? I actually have a conflict, and that's item 6E, and at the appropriate time, I'll hand the chair over to Mike Brody. Okay, you've had a chance to read your minutes from January the 15th, 2024. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve those minutes? Moved by Councillor Kingma, second by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, under correspondence, upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. Our next council meeting, which will focus on planning, is Tuesday, February the 20th at 7 p.m. as the 19th of February is actually Family Day, so we'll be here the following night. After that, we have a meeting on March the 4th, a regular council meeting at 7 p.m. And then the next one, I believe, is on the 18th after that. Recommended readings, CC number 1, Middlesex London Health Unit, the Board of Health meeting summary from December the 14th, 2023. Middlesex County Council highlights from January 16th, 2024. CC number 3, excuse me, Blue Water Recycling Association Board of Director meeting highlights from January 17th, 2024. Under action required, we received CC number 4, a resolution from the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors, or AORS is the acronym, for municipal equipment operator course. CC number 5, a resolution from the City of Sarnia regarding the carbon tax. Okay, so would you be prepared to make that a motion? Okay, so that is moved by Councillor Kingma and seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried that we support CC number 5. CC number 6, a resolution from the municipality of Tweed regarding license plate renewal fees. Councillor Kingma?
I think as much as we enjoy not paying for a sticker, I think we should probably support this. I think because we need infrastructure funds being poured back into road construction. So I'm prepared to support that.
Councillor Nordoff, is that a seconder? Okay, so moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Nordoff that we support CC number 6. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. CC number 7, a resolution from Prince Edward County regarding the lifespan of fire apparatus. Councillor Nordoff?
Yeah, I'll move to support that.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder? Councillor McKinnon? All those in favor? And that's carried. CC number 8, a resolution from the town of Mono regarding road safety emergency. CC number 9, a resolution from the town of Orangeville regarding social and economic prosperity review. CC number 10, a resolution from the municipality of Thames Centre, and it's regarding the appointment to OPP Detachment Board. And
You want to speak to that first?
And is that a conflict for me then? Is that a conflict?
No, that's
Okay. Do you want to speak to that at this time?
Real quick, if you don't mind, Councilor McKinnon. So as part of my OPP Detachment Board staff report, I'd like to just address a couple comments before we move into potentially supporting or not this resolution. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. Chair, if you're okay, I can do the staff report real quick.
Is that okay?
yes.
Okay, go ahead. So we're taking now, 6H. Yep.
Do you have a conflict on this one? I thought yours was the.
So we reworked the agenda a little bit so we can handle the OPP detachment board. There's quite a few moving parts to the creation of this new OPP detachment board. As recently as December 18th, we heard from the province that the new act or legislation is going to be in place by April 1st, which really means that we have to get our Middlesex OPP detachment board in place by April 1st. There's some transitionary issues that will occur by April 1st that really establishing the primary seats on the board or the first 4 council seats will help to resolve. Thanks to Middlesex Center CAO Michael DeLulo, he coordinated a meeting among the local CAOs of the member municipalities for this OPP detachment board with the provincial advisor. It gave us an opportunity to ask a bunch of questions around the composition and activities of the board and some of the decisions that they'll be making into the future, but primarily as what I would call an implementing board. That implementing board is the first term of this board. They have lots to do from establishing a terms of reference to a financial apportionment model for handling costs across all member municipalities, so on and so forth. Things like who's going to provide the administrative support, whether that's a local municipality, Middlesex County, or it's a third party individual that is capable of providing administrative support for the board. There's also other considerations such as email addresses or websites or where we're going to post public information. Again, very good decisions for the board. So in saying that, we had a local CAO meeting last Thursday where we generally decided that probably the best approach is to get the 4 council seats appointed and then move into the community representation and allow the board to determine and undertake its own process for those community representatives. I'm in support of that philosophy, primarily because we more recently approved our hiring policy that really says any internal, external candidate available for that process can apply to the recruitment opportunity, and the best person gets the job. That same philosophy can be applied here for our community representatives for the board. Again, if we take this opportunity to get the 4 council seats in place, that's 4 of 7 individuals, so they'll have quorum. They'll be able to make these decisions. In terms of Jim Maudsley, more specifically, I fundamentally would agree that he is likely the best candidate in Middlesex County to be participating on the board. He's been on the Thames Center's Police Services Board since its inception in 2010. He's also on the Ontario Association of Police Boards board. So he's a wealth of knowledge and would be an absolute asset to the board. But again, I think that the 4 council seats should really determine what process they take to select their community representatives, whether that's an open and competitive process, or if they want to promote Jim Maudsley as one of the community reps and do an open process for the other position, or handpick the 2 community representatives across Middlesex County. I really think that should be a board decision. So in saying that, Southwest Middlesex, Adelaide Metcalfe, and Newbury, we share 1 council seat of the 4 council seats. In speaking with the CAO for Southwest Middlesex and the administrator for Village of Newbury, we all agreed that Mayor Clark would be the best candidate among our communities to be put forward, given her wealth and background, her financial background, and her governance experience, including her role on county council. So sorry, Stu, to put you on the seat, but we really do think that you would be the best candidate to appoint to the implementing term. And in terms of financial impact, this will be a new line item to the township budget because we've never had a OPP detachment board before. So Johnny will have to work that into 2025. Again, the board will likely determine how to apportion those costs against the participating member municipalities. And that'll be a future decision that'll be promoted back to local councils in Middlesex County. I do have to say thank you to Temp Center and Middlesex Center. Both municipalities have graciously put their support forward to help the transition of the board and to establish the new board and to help the new board start to make its decisions. So in saying that, happy to take any questions at this time. Otherwise, I'd kindly ask council to adopt or approve the recommendations outlined in the report.
Are there any questions for Morgan? Councillor Kingman?
Yep, thank you through the mayor to Morgan. I agree with your assessment of what should probably take place with regards to the council members. I would hope after the inaugural term that it would morph into option 3. And that we would get suggestions from participating municipalities as to who would be qualified candidates to sit on that. So hopefully the detachment board will view that as a viable path after their legs get underneath them and they can discuss more about governance. My question, the Indigenous component, there's no word on this.
Great question. Unfortunately, we have not received much response out of the First Nations communities that would be participating on the board. So between the First Nation representation and the provincial appointee, we're really going to rely on the province to help the board facilitate how to engage and receive representation on the board. So another good question for the implementing board.
Follow up if I have permission. Okay. Indigenous communities are policing themselves, are they not? Are they self-administered? And in that case, are they somewhat out of their element? Should they be part of our detachment board?
Through the chair to Councillor Kingma, I'm not completely aware of how they provide police servicing within their communities. Yeah, if they have their own or otherwise, so that might be why we're not hearing much out of the group, to be honest. So I would essentially leave that to the board to navigate.
And if I might add, it's being legislated. It's not just our decision who makes up the board. It's unfortunately it's coming from higher up, and to be quite frank, things in government move fairly slowly. So it's surprising how quick that this has to move. Any other questions or comments?
Just
No, just through, that's what I'm looking for clarification. So if we approve the report first, Morgan, do you, as a CAO group, do you still want to endorse Michelle through this, Michelle Smiber, or do you just want to leave that, or what's your preference?
Well, I don't think.
Are we looking, do you have Sue endorsed throughout the?
Yeah, so the way Thames Center is set up, they get one council seat. So they've made their decision to appoint Michelle Smiber. What council can do here with the resolution that has been passed to us by Thames Center is council could choose to support it and support Jim Maudsley as a community representative, or council could choose to file this request from Thames Center in place of allowing or supporting what's in the staff report, where the board would choose how they determine their 2 community representatives. Make sense?
Councillor Kingma?
Yeah, I'm willing to endorse what the last comment you made. If that could be a motion that we approve your report, I think that maximizes the latitude of the board for getting their affairs in order.
Okay, so we'll file CC10 when the time comes. Okay, so first of all, let's address 6H. Could I have a motion to approve the recommendation by the CAO? Moved by Counselor Brody, seconded by Counselor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And we'll jump back to the correspondence. So we are going to file CC number 1, CC number 2, CC number 3, CC number 4, CC number 8, CC number 9, and CC number 10. They're filing and supporting the staff report in that number 10. So could I have, so we're going to receive and file those, then the ones I've rhymed off. Moved by Counselor Nordoff, seconded by Counselor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, Arnie, if you're still with us, you're on mute and we can't see you, but maybe you're there somewhere. Thanks, Arnie. Okay, so I'll turn this part of the meeting over to Arnie Marsman, our Chief Building Inspector. Go ahead, Arnie.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Just a sound check. You can hear me all right?
Everything's great. Proceed.
Great. I honestly intended to be at council tonight in person. I apologize. I was needed in 2 places at the same time tonight. So I'll try to be at your next meeting for other reasons, but I'm here tonight to present the year-end building report for Adelaide Metcalfe, and I'd like to start just with some general commentary of the past year. This past year has been tough for many municipalities. There's been a real slowdown in the residential market, but I'm pleased to say that Adelaide Metcalfe, as well as Southwest Middlesex, we're a group of 5 municipalities that we provide inspections for. And Adelaide Metcalfe and Southwest have really bucked the trend and had a very good year. Probably the best year we've had in about 5 years. So it's a good news report. What we've seen is new housing starts up from last year. We had 8, this year at 15, and construction value went from 17 million to 20 million last year. So it's a good year, a lot of good indicators, and no reason to say that to slow down. I think the signs look like we're going to continue with that healthy market coming into this year, at least in Adelaide Metcalfe. So that's good news. Just a couple of highlights from last year. I'd like to also kind of highlight the positive stories of last year. Last year, we passed a new building bylaw amongst all 5 municipalities. The building bylaws are all identical now. And for a number of reasons, that's very helpful for staff. So it took a little while for that to come together. But similar to our fee bylaw, Adelaide, Metcalfe, Southwest, and North Middlesex have similar building permit fees. And this was the next stage in our group of 5, is to have a similar building bylaw. So that's a success. Also, probably last time I'll mention this, but we're proud of receiving the Peter J. Marshall Award from AMO last year for our building services agreement. So I just wanted to highlight that as a positive outcome of last year. I'd like to go through the tables in the staff report now. There's a number of tables that kind of provide a variety of information for council to discuss now, or just to look at as good light reading of how this year compares to previous years. Table 1, we compare the 5 municipalities of our service group, just so you know where Adelaide Metcalfe sits in relation to the other 4. I won't get into a lot of the details, but I can say with some certainty that Lucan, Biddulph, and Middlesex Center, the numbers went down quite a bit from previous years. I don't have their previous numbers here, but residential is probably at least 50% of what it has been in 2022. Overall, though, we've pushed 962 permits, and 268 new dwellings were approved by this building department, with construction totaling $236 million. So still a very good year, when the previous year was 299 million. So down slightly, but still pretty healthy for the county. The second table is a breakdown of the permits that we issued in the 4th quarter. This report is also a 4th quarter report and a year end. So you can compare what we did last year, the totals of a variety of different types, whether it's single-family homes, commercial, industrial, or agricultural permits, septic systems. They're all summarized in this table. Overall, 98 permits compared to 81. So that is, again, everything looked up. So that's good. And table 3 is another little summary of this is the permit fees that have been collected this year, construction value compared to previous years, and a new column called development charges. So Adelaide Metcalfe brought in $91,000 in DCs last year with the DC bylaw that was approved. So if there's that's my report in a nutshell. If there's any questions, I'm happy to speak to them.
Are there any questions for Arnie? No, I think just in summary, Arnie, you guys, your team, they do a great job, and we really appreciate the service. And I think it's brought about a lot of efficiencies, and especially with the changes that you highlighted tonight. And congratulations once again on the Peter J. Marshall Award. It's well deserved. So,
Yes, thank you.
okay, so no questions for Arnie. If not, we have a recommendation that the fourth quarter and year end of 2023 building activity summary be received for information. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. Arnie, thanks very much, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for your report.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, next up is the Lions drainage work, reconstruction report from our drainage superintendent, Andrew Neely. So Andrew, I think, yep, you're there on the screen. That's great. I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you. This is a fairly short request. The Lions drainage works reconstruction request. The background of this, late last year, there was a request for a few of the property owners in the area to inspect the condition of the drain to see if there was an obstruction in the drain. Staff acquired a contractor to expose the drain to do a visible inspection. Camera was used, a push camera was used to investigate the drain, and it seemed to be working in normal conditions, no obstructions. The catch basins on Murphy Drive appeared to be free of debris and were flowing normally. From that, the property owners recognized that the drain was working properly and appeared to be in good condition, but expressed interest in increasing the capacity of the drain. Staff outlined the options and process for upgrading the drain, including twinning of the drain. As a result of this, staff received a request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act to twin the Lions drain. The twinning of the municipal drain is uncommon, but it's an option to increase the capacity, especially if the older drain is in decent condition. If the landowner should decide they would rather destroy the old drain and replace it, this can be accommodated. This is quite early on in the process. The recommendation is that council accepts the request to increase the capacity of the Lions drainage works based on the request received from the owners of lots 4, 5, and 6, concession 4, and lot 6, concession 3, in the former township of Metcalfe. And also further, that council direct staff to procure a drainage engineer in accordance with the township procurement policy.
Okay, are there any questions for Andrew? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that council accepts a request to increase the capacity of the Lions drainage works based on the request received from the owners of lot 4, 5, and 6, concession 4, and lot 6, concession 3, under Section 78 of the Drainage Act, and further, that council direct staff to procure a drainage engineer in accordance with the township's procurement policy. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, second by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item up is the preliminary operating budget to actual as of December 2023 from our treasurer, Johnny Pereira, and I'll turn the meeting over to him.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, through the council. So we have in front of us the preliminary December operating report. So spending and revenue collection looks to be on pace with the budget. So far, we've seen 100% of the projected revenue be received for the year, and 97% of the budgeted operating expenditure side has been spent. So commentary has been included in the report. So this is a preliminary report, as we are still awaiting a number of invoices still for the year of 2023. So a final report will come forward in late March, where we'll better have a better position of where we're landing. At that time, we'll also bring forward a surplus report. It is kind of too early still to highlight what that surplus is going to be, but we'll bring forward a recommendation in late March based on the reserve and reserve fund policies as well.
Okay, Johnny, remind me again, what's your cut? Do you have a hard stop date for the payables from 2023?
Yeah, great question. We're aiming for end of February
Okay.
is what we're kind of communicated. So we're hoping, again, by late March, we'll have an idea of where we're going to land, and that sets ourselves up well for the audit as well.
Perfect, perfect. Any other questions for Johnny? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that the budget, the operating budget to actual report for December 2023 be received for information. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. And the preliminary capital budget to actual Q4 2023. We just did that. Oh, that's the capital one. I'm sorry. Then we did operating. I'll get there.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, to council. As you mentioned, there's our Q4 capital report, again, preliminary, as there are some invoices still outstanding. So this just highlights the status of the capital projects and relevant comments. So staff does review these on a monthly basis throughout the year. So for the year, we have completed 8 of the 14 capital projects listed there. 5 of these projects have been identified as carry forward, and 1 of those projects has been deferred to 2025. The recommendation is to receive the report as presented, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Johnny on the capital portion of the budget? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the capital budget to actual report for Q4 2023 be received for information. Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. At this time, I'd like a motion to turn the chair over to Mike Brody, moved by Councillors Kingma and seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor, and that's carried. So.
Okay, so item 6E. Let me see, I didn't bring my computer over, I should have. The tile loan rating bylaw. And that's gonna be Johnny.
Thank you, Chair. Through to council. So this report just highlights the standardized process of the next stage to the application, just approving the rating bylaw for the tile loan for David and Sue Clark. So back on November 6th, council did approve the tile loan application. Since then, an inspection was completed by our drainage inspector, and all documents has been reviewed by OMAFRA. So staff is recommending the approval of this bylaw and direction to sign and authorize the tile drain debenture and offer the sell documents submitted to OMAFRA. The recommendation is to approve the report and bylaw as presented. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for anybody? Councillor Kingma?
Thank you. Through the chair to Johnny. A broader question, I guess. Can we raise that $50,000 limit if we set our minds to it?
Through the chair to Councillor Kingma. A great question. That is actually set by OMAFRA. And that amount is per year. So if it spans over the year cutoff, you could, as it's 50,000 per year. So if that project will maybe span over the period, then you might be able to. I would have to submit that through OMAFRA to see if that's okay, but per year it is 50,000 max, or 75% of the overall project. So
Maybe we just make a comment to that quick, because actually that's only going to tile about 30 acres in this day and age. So I'm surprised OMAFRA hasn't brought that up, because that's not even that's a very small tile job now. Anyways, just my comment. So I guess we're looking for any more comments or? Lydia, you move. Seconder, Councillor Nordoff, all in favor? That's carried. So now we need a motion to return the chair to Mayor Clark. First by Councillor Kingma, second by Betty Ann. All those in favor? Thank you.
Okay, the next staff report up is 6F, dust suppression tender results, and I'll turn this over to our Public Works Manager, Coulter Cahill.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Every year, the township applies a dust control to our gravel road network. This year, we got our tender out in great time. It was out January 15th. We closed on January 31st. We received 3 bids. The successful bidder for the supply of dust suppressant was 552976 Ontario Limited. This is based on the lowest price per unit. I will note that it is the same contractor that won the tender last year. Did a very good job. Staff made some slight modifications 2 years ago with everything going on, a 30% market increase. We had a look at our program. We did reduce the quantity from 375 to 300 flake ton. We have monitored it over the last 2 years, and we've seen great results. So we stuck to that 300 flake ton quantity. So based on the bids received this year, we are under the budgeted amount of $121,000 by $4,300 plus HST. Our recommendation is below. I'll open it up for any questions if there is any.
Okay, are there any questions for Coulter? Councillor Kingma?
Thank you, Coulter, for all the work you're doing on this front. Yeah, it's hard to keep the costs under the budgeted amount. I think it was up $23 a ton.
You're correct.
Yeah, so that's impressive that we were able to keep that under control. I have a quick question. I read the indemnification section in the contract, and it looks like very robust language, but in light of the R versus Greater Sudbury case where Sudbury was held liable for a contractor doing his own supervising, is there anything that we have to do in this dust suppression effort to protect ourselves from liability?
Do you want to take this or?
Sure.
Okay.
I guess I'm kind of looking at Cole to see if you and Wayne had talked about the impacts of that decision as it relates to the tendering process in this contract. Did it come up?
We have spoke about it a few times, but in depth, we are on site when the contractor is there. We do actually most times have like a lead truck with a beacon on. We do put signs out on both ends, and we do have that covered in the contract. To expand on that, I don't have much more for you, Councillor Kingma.
So I guess going back to Councillor Kingma's question, that we should probably take a second to review that clause as it relates to the decision in Sudbury, I think it was. And we'll take a look at that contract and bring it back to council. I just can't sit here and guarantee that we've covered off that basis without having a thorough review. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the law may be specific that we're kind of limited. So I think to Coulter's point, I think it's good. Like you guys are on scene and you do have your team checking, but you know, the ultimate responsibility should be on the contractor, but the law is not always the way the law should be. But having said all of that, I would hope that there'd be extra due diligence from your department, knowing that that is an exposed risk that we may have to mitigate.
Sure.
So do you want more information before we approve this? Was there a date on this?
Yes, there is a date on this. I guess we could take it to the next meeting if you'd like, us to bring it back. We do have some time, but at the same time, the contract doesn't necessarily start until May sometime, so we can, if the council wishes.
Yeah, I guess I'm more concerned, like the pricing. Is there any sensitivity around that with respect to date?
There is. I do believe we did state in the tender that it will be brought to a meeting in February. I think we're still open to, we can bring it to the next meeting and still be okay price wise,
Okay,
if council wishes.
what is the wish of the group? I think just to get clarity, it doesn't hurt, like especially if we have time. Sure, go ahead.
So knowing that we got one meeting in February left, we might be up against some timelines. I guess what I would say is if council's comfortable with the idea, I'll review the risk with Coulter and Wayne Mahar at the county barrister and solicitor's office. And if everything is okay and then we're not introducing any new risk, essentially there's no changes to the document, then I'd say we could proceed in that sense. So what council could do is approve it with that nuance.
Okay, why don't we put it on the floor then? We have a recommendation that council approve the tender received from 552976 Ontario Limited in the amount of 289 plus HST per flake ton for the supply and application of dust suppressant. And further instruct staff to vet the legal language of the document to ensure it's meets all of our criteria. Does that sound fine?
That works for me. I understand the intent of council is to review the contract document as it relates to the Occupational Health and Safety Act and new information we've received that identifies risk. And if there is changes to the document, we'll bring it back to council. If there's no change, then we would proceed with the document as outlined. Basically, what I'm trying to do is prevent the same document coming back to council again if there's no changes.
So only if new information. Okay, Councillor Kingma?
Yeah, I'm not concerned. I mean, I think we have our language pretty tight in that contract, but nothing's for sure anymore, so.
Well, you're questioning process and that's okay. So if you would prefer that it to be brought back and then when it's reported on at the next meeting, only new information would be reported on and the motion would be brought back. Is that what you're asking?
I'd like to hear the rest of council.
Okay, yeah, what's everybody else's pleasure? Councillor Brody?
I'm fine with approving the dollar amount. Just having staff double check if there's anything.
To vet the risk? Okay. Councillor Nordoff?
I concur.
Okay. Councillor McKinnon?
I concur with both my friends across the aisle. And I think the language is similar in most of our legal documents, so I didn't have a problem with it.
Okay, so with me adding that addition on to that last motion, could I, the spirit is the same, could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
So just for council's sake, procedurally, we do have a bylaw later on. So we won't pass that bylaw and we'll rely on our confirming bylaw for the intent of council. And we'll, if there's no issues, we'll proceed with. Okay.
So we're gonna remove bylaw 9. Okay. Next up is the 6G, the Community Improvement Plan, the 2023 review and 2024 program launch, and I'll turn this over to our CAO, Morgan Calvert.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the rest of council. As you heard, it's the 2023 CIP in review and the 2024 CIP launch report. It's a pretty long report for essentially just recommending a status quo approach to council, but a couple highlights. In terms of 2023 review, we had, well, it was the first year of the program's implementation. We had 3 pre-consultation meetings that resulted in 1 application that was brought before council. That council was approved by, or that application was approved by council, and the money went out the door and resulted in some business improvement in the village of Adelaide. In terms of 2024, we're generally proposing a status quo approach in terms of an open intake period where we can work and promote applications to council as they come in. There is a bit of a downside to this approach as council doesn't get a holistic view of what applications are before them. So if we get one in March and we don't get another one until December, for example, there's a bit of a gap in between seeing which application we might want to prioritize. Being mindful to that scenario, happy to make sure council's informed as discussions and pre-consultation meetings go along so that you have a bit of insight into that process. The open intake application philosophy just allows us to use the CIP as a bit of an economic development tool and driver, and also an opportunity for us to drive some value into business related discussions that we're having with folks in the township. I'm also recommending that the programs that council activated last year are the same programs that we activate this year. Primarily because not much has changed in terms of adoption of additional residential units in our official plan process. And I don't see affordable housing on the near term for the township. Of course, in the spirit of continuous improvement, we've created a few staff report templates that will be brought towards council. Council approved the funding agreement template that we'll use across each application that's been approved by council. We've made some tweaks to the forms just to create a little bit more of an efficient process for the applicant. One of the enhancements that we're going to do this year is to better market the CIP program online in tax inserts. We're going to work with probably the Chamber of Commerce and maybe the Business Help Center to make sure that that's a business support that could be marketed or promoted to businesses within the township that come forward to those groups. We're also, I think in the tax inserts, we've had the CIP program launched there as well. The CIP program again has a budget of $10,000 this year as approved through the municipal budget. And I do believe that the county's CIP implementation program will probably survive the county's budget this year. That program saw about 50% of our municipal contribution returned to the township. So that makes that $10,000 go a little bit further. In saying all that, happy to take any questions at this time or kindly ask council to approve the recommendation outlined in the report.
Are there any questions for Morgan? Councillor Kingma?
Thank you, through the mayor to Morgan and council generally. Wonder if we could add a friendly amendment to what's been recommended tonight, that we change the open intake to a intake deadline so that we can accumulate what I would hope would be several project ideas. We can parse through them and prioritize. So I think we can have more discretion over council's priorities, expressing council's priorities, I should say, if we had a bunch of applications simultaneously to look through.
So just to, in summary, you would like a deadline, an application deadline? Or would you like every quarter intake, or what would your recommendation be?
I would be merely content to get a staff report on the implications of having an intake deadline. If they would like to summarize something for us, and then we can have a discussion at a future time. We don't have to make any decision tonight.
Okay, any further comments? Then one of the groups I'd like to see circled in as well is the Community Futures Development Corp of Middlesex County. I think they've been a very good partner in Adelaide Metcalfe and beyond, and it'd be nice to include them. Councillor Brody, you also had a comment?
Yeah, I actually like Councillor Kingma's idea. I don't like the idea of somebody applying in February and then we sit on it until a November or December date. Like, maybe it should be middle of the year or really start of the third quarter or something. Just have a more of a date and then you can make a decision and move forward.
Okay, so does anyone want to propose an actual structure, or would you like the staff to rework it and bring it back? That's
Yeah, I just like to say, I'll just rework it and
Yeah.
come back with a
okay.
maybe more of an update or
So
what they think is more.
yeah, so it's got the best chance for success, I think, is where everybody's going with this. So, okay, so we're going to defer 6G until we have a staff report with a little more information on it as with respect to deadline. Sorry, we've done 6H. We'll now jump down to 6I. Request for certificate of validation under section 57 of the Planning Act for 6564 Calvert Drive. And I'll turn that over to Mike Barney, our clerk.
Through the mayor to members of council. This is more of a housekeeping issue than anything. Last week, we were alerted to an issue from John Barnett of Mackenzie Lake Lawyers about a potential issue in a purchase. And it was also followed up by Janet Gibbons, who was on the purchasing side of this property. So between the municipality and the two lawyers, we did come up with this solution. But basically, in 2019, there was a Form 1 or certificate of official for the deed, and it mentioned Part 1 and Part 2, where it should have just mentioned Part 1. So under the Planning Act, under Section 57, we can issue what's called a certificate of validation, and basically this winds the clock back like it didn't happen. And the actual validation certificate was prepared between the lawyers and myself, so it is valid. And this was the best method to quickly deal with this error. So if there's any questions, hopefully I can answer it. I've never encountered this, but it's very interesting. So otherwise, the recommendation is that council direct the clerk to proceed with the issuance of the certificate of validation for application for consent B03-2019.
Okay, any questions for the clerk? I believe this is the old Denning property, the 2 lots in Cairngorm. Okay, we have that recommendation. I won't read it again. Mike's already read it. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we have a recommendation that council adjourn to a closed session at 7:49 p.m. pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following matters: litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, specifically the servicing agreement between Adelaide Metcalfe and Strathroy Caradoc. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor, and that's carried. Thank you.